So within EduGame, Bogan has his separate company which focuses on VR and architectural designs, and I have a gaming company which creates games and all those kinds of stuff. Some of the sectors that we touched on with the kids is we had a partner called Games for Change, and this allowed for our students to take part in their competition where kids had to either create digital or board games, and the topics that they were covering on was food hunger and I think it's Reeve Corel or something, just not mistaken. And the kids came up with this concept. But on my side, for example, I develop games for corporates now, and some of the systems that we've been working on are onboarding systems for corporate companies. And one of the projects that I'm very excited, there's two projects I'm excited working on. I can't speak about one.
Yeah.
Has to do with health and everything, but I can't really touch into it. But the other one that I'm very excited that I'm working on is a oil and gas gamification playbook, which covers oil and gas, green hydrogen, and I forgot the other word now, but it's within those sectors. So what that does basically is that I'll be developing, because people don't know what oil and gas is. So what I designed, I already came up with a concept. I just have to share it. Is that with the concept that I came up on, this is something that can be leased or partnered with different companies, where this can be used to educate their staff and people about what oil and gas is and everything, and just educate Namibians at large as well. So where I'm going with this is literally is that it's a game that I developed, but it's like a playbook game focusing on oil and gas and hydrogen as well, just to educate people about, and renewable energy. That's the word I was looking for. Just to educate Namibians about it as well, and young Namibians as well. So within this onboarding system that I developed, I also developed a curriculum which is going to be used by our students, especially the ones that are going to intermediate to expert level, where they're going to learn about green hydrogen, they're going to learn about oil and gas, and then through this, they can develop their own games in Roblox. Because now they're moving into a stage where they're going to focus more on project-based games, which is their own games as well, but they're going to be leasing our platform format as well. And at the same time, Bogan also came up with a curriculum for virtual reality games around oil and gas and green hydrogen as well, which is also going to be used by our students that are going to move into further levels. So with the students, they're going to be using this to develop oil and gas games in Roblox, so that they can teach the younger education. So through us, we educate them with a curriculum, and then they're going to come up with games that can be used and games that can be played as well. Games that can be used by corporates as well. So yeah, so that's one of the exciting things I wanted to touch on. And just to add on one thing before you move forward as well is that I do believe that this Thursday we're going to be having a showcase launch as well, with which is a closed off event. And that's going to be with Bank of Namibia, and that's where our students that have been around us, they are going to display some of the games that they worked on, and some of them are going to do presentations. And some of them are actually going to teach people 5 to 10 minutes what they've learned through the journey they've been with us so far.
Okay, that's quite interesting, man. But I must say, you've touched on curriculum, you've touched on experts, you've also touched on these sectors. But in regards to how you guys develop your games, who then comes on board to help you guys come up with a sustainable curriculum and an efficient one?
So in terms of the sustainability of that, we work on it. Me and my colleague, me and Bogan, we work on our separate curriculums, because he's an expert in VAR, and by now I'm an expert in gaming as well. So we come up with it and we create our own one. But obviously there is a plan for it to be certified through is it NTA or
NQA?
NQA.
Yeah.
Through NQA, so that it can be bigger, because we will also be previewing our online platform, which is going to show EduGame Namibia programs. So this platform is designed for online students and people from around the world to just book already, pay, and then they can choose when they can have online classes. Then a tutor will be assigned to them. So for now, we come up with our own curriculum, and sort of what is the bench. The testing phase is when people come and test our students and see what our students work, and that's the testament. And I can say so far, we've had students travel with us to Johannesburg last year, where their games was exhibited in front of the Colombian ambassador, who's in charge of the African region and some of the African countries as well. And they were also exhibited at Smokholong Prison, which is our partner in South Africa.
Yeah.
And they also get to showcase at the Joburg Game Fest and also Evichozi. So Evichozi is where you have experts from people who worked on the VFX from Mission Impossible come there and all of that. And this is where our games were showcased for the kids. And this is where they can give feedback. So this is sort of where the testament is for us. Yes, our curriculum might not be certified to Namibian standards, but as we're working towards it, we don't wait for people to say, oh, it needs to be certified first. We start with what we have, and then we have results, which is our students, and they can display what we've worked on.
If we have to look at the beginning of the year currently, I mean, we are just in the third month of the year.
Yes.
So far, nationally, we have witnessed a few national strikes happening in the country, namely the Namib Mill strike, the NORAD strike. I think, in my opinion, it's quite a fair number to begin with at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, it actually also gives you an indication that our labor relations in the country is actually maturing.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, in many cases, you'll expect a lot of unrest in the country, a lot of disputes happening, which eventually, gives birth to strikes and so forth.
Yeah.
But I believe it's quite a good start. We just hope that the employers and employees have a good working relations at the workplace to avoid any future unrest and strikes.
Okay.
But I do believe that it's a good indicator for the start.
Okay.
Yes.
In general, would you say that Namibian unions are succeeding in improving the working conditions of employees in the country? And share some examples.
Yeah, so one of the examples are obviously the happenings that we have just referred to now of the strikes. I do believe that the unions are really doing quite significant work in representing the working class. Like I said in my first statement now, the maturity of the labor relations in the country, now that we have very minimum unrest, also is an indicator that the unions are really trying their level best to uplift and improve the living standard of the workers. And one of the, of course, classic example is what have transpired now, whereas, we have represented our members in the energy sector, which is NORAD, and unfortunately, we could not reach consensus, which took us for a strike, which lasted for 4 days, and eventually we managed to get the benefit of what we have requested for. So the workers were happy with the outcome, and I believe that's one of the indicators that really shows that the unions are out there to represent and ensure that workers' rights and interests are really taken care of.
Amongst the significant developments in recent years in Namibia, in terms of the labor situation, is the introduction of minimum wage. And now recently, at the beginning of the year, minimum wages have also been increased for certain sectors. Do you think that minimum wage is working in Namibia?
I do think it's working because there are a few sectors that are really implementing the minimum wage, but we will need proper research and really just to establish whether the entire sectors are implementing the minimum wage. But I don't know really if the minimum wage, because I remember that in 2015 there was a study done on the BNB, the basic need basket, which indicated and unpacked that the household in Namibia currently needs at least to earn 10,000 Namibian dollars to be able to survive in Namibia. So it's perhaps a question that both of us should answer to say, is the current minimum wage significant enough? Can it assist our workers? Can it really solve all our current problems? I don't think so. But of course, I think the importance is that we have now a gazetted minimum wage, where it's entry level. And of course, that's where the unions also comes in to say, it is an entry level, we need to fight, and we need to ensure that we improve it from where it is currently. So, with what the reality is on the ground, of course, the truth is that the minimum wage as much as we are happy that it is gazetted and it's implemented, we are happy that it's, we have a starter, but of course the unions should then come in to say, how best can we improve from the entry level, which is a minimum wage? How do we ensure that our workers earn at least more than what they should to be able to afford the living standard that we are currently with? I'm also proud to inform you that currently in the sector which we organize and that we are in, the mine and energy sector, there's quite a significant number of workers which at least earn above the minimum wage. And and that's what we are encouraging for other unions as well, at least just to put in more effort in terms of representing their members, representing the working class, to ensure that at least we come to a breakthrough, or to a number that indicates that a proper income should be earned for a worker to be able to survive.
Bearing in mind the rampant unemployment in the country,
Yes.
amongst those Namibians who are fortunate enough to be able to work,
Yes.
do you think that the conditions, the working conditions and the standard of living in general is better now for employed Namibians than it was 5 years ago?
It's unfortunate, inflation rate goes up
Yeah.
each year. Like I said, that also can only be proven by research. It's not something that we can just, thumbsuck. But from our database, of course, we have been receiving significant feedback from our organizers on the ground who are on an annual basis fighting and engaging employers through negotiations to try to improve the living standard and working conditions of our workers.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, I think the fact that we have so much minimal unrest in the country should be an indicator that somehow, somewhere, we are doing something which is right. We are not saying we are perfect. We are not saying we have done significant, but I'm sure that we are cruising, and I'm sure that the current effort that we are putting in to try and improve the living standard of the working class, it should be commended.
Yeah.
Like I've indicated earlier, when you operate leadership levels, particularly in the public administration environment or arena, you should expect one thing, that all your operations are subject to checks and balances. At the same time, there are democratic principles that underpin the entire operation of the entire public administration in our country. See, from each and every public institution, whether elected or appointed, you are expected to remain accountable. You are expected to remain transparent. You are expected to observe all the other general principles that pertain to the democratic environment that underpin the operations of the public sector organizations in Namibia. As a result of that, you can't preclude yourself from being subjected to allegations, particularly where a number of professionals are involved. In each and every space, there will always be infights, there will always be professional related jealous tendencies and all other things that can result into certain allegations being leveled against other people for certain reasons that we all cannot disclose, because when one does that, they do it with an intention backed up by some reasons. So I became part of the subjects of that situation where there were allegations leveled against me, which I believe only the court would have proven as to whether or not I was guilty or not guilty. So I'm glad that the processes took effect, and then the result ended into a situation where the court, acquitted me on two accounts. Because, there wasn't any evidence to point on the existence of any fault. So as a result of that, I was acquitted. And of course, I feel fine. Although it was a long time, it took long for the decision to have been made or for the matter to have been concluded. But as a leader, I'm still reiterating the fact that we should expect that in respect of our operations in the public sector arena.
Absolutely.
People will always accuse you. You should be able to account on each and every aspect when required to do so. And of course, when there are disputes, there are accusations of that nature, only a court can fairly adjudicate and come out with a verdict.
Yeah.
So we observe the rule of law.
Absolutely.
So as far as I'm concerned, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm a free man, I'm a happy man, I'm back again to service my own country, my own constituencies, I'm happy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
When it comes to governance, Dr. Mutumba, there's also these prolonged processes.
Yes.
You quit UNAM during your suspension in 2015.
Yes.
And the verdict, I think, only came in 2025. That's 10 years
Yes.
of having that burden.
Yes.
Your professional reputation is being questioned.
Yes.
If you want to pursue other opportunities, jobs or whatever,
Yes.
with that thing hanging on your head,
Yes.
it's very, very difficult.
Of course.
Doesn't good governance also entail that things like that must be sped up so that people can be either found guilty or cleared so that they can pursue their life goals?
You are correct. Justice delayed is justice denied. Of course, the implications that follow are quite obvious. In fact, in terms of the legal system, there are prescriptions in terms of the period for which matters should be concluded by the court. But some technicalities, to a certain extent, times, override the legal efficacy to that effect. Because there are certain requirements that need to be met. There are certain witnesses to be called. All these things at times lead to transfers of magistrates, prosecutors, the resignation of others. So in the interim, delays crop out. But I believe there is need for the justice system to be adjusted to make sure that people are brought before the courts of law and matters are resolved expediently and timelessly, to ensure that we don't end up affecting the livelihood of people accused of certain irregularities or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's need for the system to be adjusted so that we comply with the constitutional provisions that pertain to the timelines set, time to start and conclude a matter that is appearing before court.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I am the co-founder and president of the Africa Economic Leadership Council. It's an organization that was we founded in 2021 with my brother from South Africa, Mr. Percy Koji. The aim and objective of establishing the Africa Economic Leadership Council was merely inspired by the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement area that came into operation in 2021 in January. So we've been talking about starting an organization that will connect African entrepreneurs and creating economic summits and platforms. And hence, obviously, the motivation by the 54 African countries is agreeing to establish trade cooperation among African countries. I think that's how we started. I think to complement the Africa Union Agenda 2063, and which Africa is economically strong. And in the past, when you look at the statistics of African nations trading intra-Africa trade, it was at 17%. And the Africa Continental Free Trade, with its AU Agenda 2063, has a vision to achieve at least 53% intra-Africa trade margin among Africans. Compared to when you look at intra-Europe trade, they're trading from 60 to 70% with one another. The Americas are doing almost the same percentage margin, but Africa in the global world is the lowest trade margins. So hence the continental free trade is a largest single market, meaning of 50, combining of 54 African nations with a combined GDP of 3.4 trillion US dollars. You have a market of 1.3 billion people. So it's a single market which is open an opportunity to Namibians and Africans to navigate and to do business in other African countries, and that's what Africa Continental, hence the Invest in Africa Business Summit is a third edition that we're actually hosting it now. Before we themed it Discover Namibia Inter-Africa Trade Expo, we started it, and this is the third edition in Namibia. And what we are trying to do is, we do know that the Namibian government, being a signatory of the Continental Free Trade, is doing a lot of education work, encouraging and promoting the opportunities for Namibians to benefit through the Continental Free Trade. And us as a private sector organization felt that we can also play our part and create this platform where we invite subject experts from the Secretariat in Ghana to come and present the current success story since the inception of the Continental Free Trade. At the same time, also engaging the Ministry of International Trade and Relations, the ED and the AFTA leadership here, which is headed by Mr. Nashikaku, to be able to also engage Namibians of what are the current businesses that have benefited from the AFTA. We're talking about the salt that has gone to the West African market. We've got meat that also have gone to the other market, to the African markets, and then we also have got other products. So this expo planned to expose hence the theme, unpacking the Continental Free Trade, because we know that there is a need for advocacy, a need for awareness, a need for education. Because the entrepreneur, if I can tell you, you go to Kangwati or Kachina Kachi and ask an ordinary Namibian, what is the Africa Continental Free Trade, SME, they will not tell you, they don't know anything about it. Hence this expo will create a platform where there will be that, now you know what is the opportunity of the Continental Free Trade. During the expo, I know you will be asking me more, there will also be the exhibition, where we are inviting Namibian and African business people to come and promote their goods and products at this expo. At the same time, we also have the Africa Business Gala Dinner and award ceremony that will also take place. So we have a 2-day conference, and that 2-day conference is very important. We also will talk about oil and gas. We also will talk about funding the African entrepreneur. We'll also be talking about but the first one, obviously, we have the official opening, which we expect that our government, obviously we are still awaiting news from the government to officially open this event. But we did extend the invitation to all our friends. In the meantime, I think in a nutshell, it's just to say that the Invest in Africa Business Expo focuses more, compared to your ordinary expos around the country. Ours mantra is more about exposing the continent and inviting the continent to come and discover Namibia as an investment destination. At the same time, also give opportunity to Namibians.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As someone who's in that space, an entrepreneur yourself, what do you think have been the stumbling blocks around really, exploiting the opportunities that are presented by the Africa Free Trade deal that is in place now? Because once in a while you see in the media that, I read recently that Midco, for example, has sent some hides, cow hides to Kenya, I think it was. Just bits and pieces. There was salt in the coast in your region. There was a company that sent some salt somewhere. But it's really far apart. Why can't we have more of this happening on a regular basis?
And I think in most of the companies that you have mentioned, Toys, those are big companies. And we have SME, small businesses that are producing goods. Obviously, there is an opportunity